Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the world famous Beating the Press. I keep saying that, but one day it's going to be true. Okay, so you can laugh at one day, yeah, one day. Thanks for joining us anyway. Today we've decided to, with it being International Week, we thought we'd have a look. And obviously, we live in England, in the middle of the sort of banging middle of the news at the moment because of other things outside of football, but we thought we'd have a look at England and how. I mean, obviously, Jack Grealish seems to be the sort of talk of the town at the moment with his performance against Belgium, which I watched the second half and I thought he was really good. But I just think overall, there's been discussion about England's formation, whether it's too defensive, they're not scoring too many, they don't against Belgium. I mean, it was funny, the Belgium game. I thought the first game, even though they weren't that great. Whereas the second game, I thought they were better in the game. They lost 2-0. But I just wanted to get your views on how you think Southgate's done. After 2018, and he was coming home and he was the guy with the waistcoat and everything. Everything was rosy in the garden, and it's not so much now. And I just feel there's murmurs of discontent. But just what your views on it?
Yeah, like Southgate done really well. Like I say, really well. Obviously, he got us to a semi-final, which is our best performance since Italia '90. But since then, like you say, the murmurs have started appearing. Like, I think I looked at a stat earlier. I think he's played 20 fewer less games than Eriksen, and we've lost the same amount of games. I think he's lost 10 games now, and England rarely lose. Yeah, exactly. England rarely lose. Like let's say friendlies, and for me, it's just all wrong. I'm obviously from Middlesbrough, and I knew him as the Middlesbrough manager before this, and you get quite a good insight on what type of manager he is when he manages your hometown club. And for him to go from effectively Middlesbrough to the England youth setup, I understand that you work your way up to go into what is effectively the biggest job in the country. I don't understand it. It's just like pulling Mike Bassett out of nowhere and just being like, yeah, there you go. Like, there's the future of our country. The best players in the country, now go and manage them, from managing Middlesbrough. But I just look at the England team. You often think of who is he trying to emulate. Like we play like a 3-5-2 at the moment, and you think, I don't get where he's getting that formation from. I don't know where he thinks it works, what it benefits. We looked at the other night, I think it was like maybe 3 attacking players. I counted 3 attacking players that we started with, like, out and out attacking players. I think it was Harry Kane, Mason Mount and Jack Grealish. Beyond that, there was no other attacking players. You've got the 2 full-backs who are not a Trent Alexander-Arnold, who is more of an attacking full-back. Chilwell, fair enough. You can call him a bit of an attacking full-back. But the central players, I think John Henson, Rice, and then obviously you've got your back 3 from there, which are appalling. You've got Kyle Walker, who was it?
Tyron Mings and Dyer.
Yeah, and obviously we've got a few injuries, but it's not far off what he would typically choose. You're missing Sterling. And you probably maybe put in Sancho again. I don't know whether he doesn't seem to rate Sancho.
Yeah,
but yeah, like we've got I'd say we've got a good amount of attacking options. Whereas in the past, we had a really good, solid defense. We'd always have like a Sol Campbell, Rio Ferdinand, someone, and like we were speaking on the last one, an alpha to dominate the back. We haven't really got that in the England team. We haven't really got a midfield out of a Gerrard, a Lampard, a Scholes, anything like that. So we're lacking there. And the forward line is the only thing that we can shout about. And at the moment, he's not utilised. I don't feel he's utilising what is our best strength. I think he's too fearful of our lacking further back.
Yeah, I think all the points they're valid. I think you talk about. I mean, I think he played more sort of 3-4-3 on against, but yeah, I get you. It's generally between 3-5 and 3-4-3, and I think he's done it since on the back of the sort of World Cup, and that's the formation we played there. But then he seemed to go away from that and we'll play a 4-3-3, which allowed us to be a bit more expressive and play a bit more advanced, and look to be really creative in that final third. It's an interesting with it. So you've got a 3-4-3. So Belgium played a similar formation. They play three at the back and they've got wing backs. So your makeup of your wing back and your profile of your wing back, that dictates if your team's attacking or defensive. If you stick a right back as a right wing back and a left back a left wing back, naturally they're going to be quite defensive. Whereas if you put two wide players out, a wide right and a wide left, or even wingers, if you want to be really super attacking, then suddenly the profile of your team changes. Then you've got so many more attacking players. Playing a wing back when you're a full back is a different game as well. You've played full back, you look the ball, the game's in front of you, you're running onto it. As a wing back, a lot of the time you're going to have the ball with the back to play. You're almost playing as a midfielder because you're going to be playing in that second line. So the ball gets played out to you, you're going to get pressed from the opposite full back straight away. So you're back to game, back to play. Now, wingers are going to be more comfortable in that situation. Do you know what I mean? So it's that balance you're trying to think. If you're playing against Belgium, which fair enough, they're the number one ranked team in the world, but do you want to be that defensive where you've got, your three attackers and then you've got your two holding midfielders? See, the makeup of the two central midfielders could be better as well. You could Mason Mount have dropped in there, just to be a bit more. I mean, I know when they were losing, you put Jadon Sancho out on the right as the right wing back, which was fine because he had Kyle Walker as the right-sided centre half, so we still got the good cover there, and it's like. I never want to second guess. The top managers, they're obviously good managers, but I think the questions quite rightly are being asked. To sort of see why is he so defensive, and they were good in the second half, even with those players that we've mentioned. So it's not suddenly players can't play that formation, but I just think to get England's strength at the moment is their attacking players. They've got, and I can't remember the last time they had this many creative attacking players, and those players that can really make a difference in the final third, whether to beat a man or play that sort of incisive killer pass. It's been a long time since they've had so many opportunities, so many
options.
So many options for players to play in those. So we're talking about Jack Grealish as like he's definitely going to be playing now. And I'm like, he's played a couple of games, just calm the fuck down. You know what I mean? He's not put up any trees. In effectively glorified friendlies, and he's like, oh yeah, he's going to play. He's like England's most important players. I'm like, well, he's not. Let's just hold on there. I mean, Raheem Sterling and Kane are still going to be the England's two most important players. You'd probably throw Rashford in there. The options are good. I do wonder what Mason Mount's got on him though. He seems to play him every single time. I like Mount. I think he's a good player, but does he deserve to start in England's best 11? I don't know. It's up for debate, But yeah, he's not.
I think it's a lot to do with statistics. Lampard, whatever he's got on Gareth Southgate, he's clearly got on Lampard as well.
Yeah.
Again, he divides opinion, but what's interesting is Southgate. He sees it as a process. He sees this is kind of like his identity of the team, but I just don't see where it's actually going. Like you say, the attacking options. If you go to club football, I'm trying to think who you would compare England to, and there's not a great deal that I can compare them to. And I know it's not as easy as to go and play like Pep Guardiola, go and play like Man City because we haven't got the midfielders. But we have got functional midfielders like Liverpool, for example. Liverpool are not technically blessed with centre midfielders. They're not technically blessed with ball playing. Well, right now they're not technically blessed with playing with ball playing centre backs. But what we do have is like an energy about us where we're totally different to Man City. Whereas I don't think Southgate's got any kind of identity. He constantly looks to go out in the same format. It doesn't matter who he's playing against. So like in the press conference, I think it was today, he mentioned how we're more likely to win in the style of play that we played against Belgium, where we've got the two banks, and then because we're playing against a decent team, we just rely on keeping it tight and maybe winning, not snatching the win, but you'd say maybe 40% of the time we'd win against Belgium. Whereas you think back to the Spain game where, like, a lot of people have fond memories of, like, we obviously went to Spain, beat them 3-2. And he's came out today and he said that the Belgium defeat was better than the Spain win. Now, he's looking at statistics. He's looking at the overall performance, and granted, it is better, but don't you think we should maybe, accept our losses and kind of play the opponent as opposed to playing a consistent way all the way through? Like, I'm thinking like if I compare it to a Premier League team like a Leicester know when they're playing against a Man City, for example. They didn't go up at the Etihad. I think it was the Etihad early in the season where they hammered Man City. They didn't go there looking to play pretty football. They look to counter-attack, and that's effectively what they are. When they play against Newcastle, they look to dominate the ball, whereas Southgate continually sticks with the same ethos, whether it's one game or the next, whether it's Spain or whether it's Lithuania.
Yeah, I think I go back to, if he's going to play, I think that I just want to sort of go back on why he got the job as England manager, or why I think he got the job. So obviously England under 21 manager is pretty much anyone can have it, if you're half decent, you get it. Now, he was obviously touted a couple of times and he was like, nope, I'm going to concentrate on the youth. I'm just concentrate on where I'm at the moment on the 20s. I need to grow as a manager. That job came up, and I thought at the time it was a good transition because England had obviously tried it for a lot of managers, and he was, I don't want to say the word safe option, but effectively he was. So he's gone through that. And the thing with it is, at the time, he pretty much followed the English DNA. So whatever he's got in the under 20 was just going to transition on it, and there's a nice sweet pathway for those players to move up to the senior team. Now, for the FA as well, they get a massive shot in the arm for, we're going to play the same way throughout all our age groups in the senior team. So he's actually gone there, and what I love about Southgate, and I think we're not, I don't want to jump on the bandwagon. I just think it's rightly to be questioned, but I think let's just remember he has constantly played out from the back. There's a way that he's wanted to play out. The game against Belgium, the first pass, I think it was Dyer who's played the ball into Mount, and the ball's got pinched on the turnover and the score. Now, you can't blame the Dyer for playing that ball because they will, because you get what I call the sort of your 40-year-old Twitter guys who just bang on about, I can't play out from the back. Do you know what I mean? One thing goes wrong and then it's all sort of, they'll jump on the bandwagon saying, oh yeah, why are we playing out from the back, launch it. That's just such a Neanderthal mentality, and the game's moved on from there. Absolutely down to the right ball. You could probably play out more to the right, so it's away from Tongan, so we can't come and nick it off Mount. Do you know what I mean? So a Mount could do a lot better to look after it as well. So it's not as simple as that. If you get City turns, you've only got a chance. It's the way you play out from the back, and it's fine. Now, suddenly the makeup of the team and the way he's playing is slightly different. So he's not as much. He floats between 3 at the back and 4 at the back. Whether you're playing out from the back with 3 at the back or 4 at the back, your makeup of your back 5 or your back 4 and your pivots in midfield, that all changed. So the pitches always change. Now, if you watch the game against Belgium, you had the Belgium's front 3. They basically cut off all the options, so that was the only ball to go through, and it was the right ball to go through. It's fine. So he's lost it. That's okay. Moving forward, he's got to now think, right, okay, we're going to stick with this. And it appears he's going to stick with it as well. And I'm all for that. And I'm glad he's not going to go away from it and say, right, we need to change, on the back of, newspaper articles or, social media. Let's just stick with it and we're going to go with it. It's interesting you said that about the Spain game. And he mentioned the same thing after the interview as well. He's really happy with the performance. And I agree with him. I thought the performance was really good. Now, that to me almost gives it an indicator that he doesn't value these friendlies, the Nations League games as much. He always sees them as like a competitive friendly for him to really try and work those and get the team ready and oiled for those major tournaments when we get there. And I really hope they just continue to play the same way. Sorry.
I definitely understand that. And, I'm not, this is not me. I love the beautiful game. I love developing an attack, developing a style of play, and it's not an impulsive reaction. To me, it's just I don't see a direction that he is actually going into. Like I kind of despair. We're trying to change it at an early age. I'm presuming that all of these kids, these kids have came through the new way of coaching. You know, obviously, I think it was the under-17s that we won the tournament.
Yeah, it was a Phil Foden and Sancho and all that, wasn't it? I think, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, you've got a capable team there, but when it goes up to that, you know, the next level, are we quite there? Like, I just forever think England is trying to forge an identity as opposed to, you know, you're trying to forge maybe a Spanish identity as opposed to creating our own identity. And I know, you know, it does sound like I'm talking like one of those little Twitter girls or whatever, but it's just a case of, like, you know, accepting that some games you are going to be second best. Like the Spain game. The Spain game was a perfect example of that. And I don't know whether that was a tactical performance from Southgate, whether he did actually adapt, or whether it was that we were forced to retreat into that. And we just so happened to have a Sterling that was absolutely flying in that game, and, you know, a good link up. And it was just one of those games where everything clicked. But I'd hate to think that we're going to go to another tournament where we're just going to scrape by and get to the quarterfinals and, like, just get draw, and then a win in the last game, and then just get through the quarterfinals, maybe win on penalties in the quarters or the first round, and then just get knocked out. And it's just the same thing over and over again. Like, you know, we think back of even, you know, the fond memories of Italia 90. We weren't even great in that tournament. You know, I've looked back over that, and, you know, we scraped to the semi-finals. It wasn't like we bowled over teams. And then, you know, even if you look in Euro 96, bar in the Holland game, we were poor in that. Like, you know, even in the Scotland game, we weren't great in that.
Yeah.
You know, so those are our biggest successes. And then you look to the most recent one with Gareth Southgate, it was probably the most underwhelming. Like, the way that we reached the semi-finals, you know, we hammered like poor teams along the way. As soon as we came up against someone who, a quality team, don't get me wrong, but we, you know, us, the media, whatever, we thought we'd have the slight edge, you know, player for player, we'd have the slight edge, but they just have their own identity, their own way of playing Croatia. We don't have that, and I just think we're shying away from something which is we're trying to develop something.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you to an extent, but I want to put something to you. So we talk about England's identity, and I think, and I don't want to answer your question. My question that I would ask you, but I think I know what you're going to say. So if we go, what's England's identity? It's more that sort of fast-paced, direct football. That's what we'd say. Now, Southgate's obviously wanted to change that, and I think it's in progress. So he started it in 2018 and just slightly before that. And he wants England to play out from back. He wants us to be a European, what we called a European team now. And the players are comfortable with it because most of them play like that at club level as well. So it's not alien to them. Now, I think the problem he has is putting the players in the team that marry up to play that. And I think he's got players that he seems to have a real, that he classes as favourites, but I don't necessarily think they should be in the team. But you know, I think he's shown a lot of loyalty, for example, to Jordan Pickford, and I just think it's, you know, what we going to, is he England's best keeper? Does Tyrone Mings is he in England's best back three? Is Eric Dyer in England's best back three? Is Declan Rice as good as all the sort of media and everyone's banging on about? I personally don't. You know, and then you've got your front three, and like, what's the makeup of your front three? I mean, this is the question. I mean, is he going to play 3-4-3 or 4-3-3? That's it. So the front three is effectively going to be the three. So it's got Grealish, Kane, and Mount. And now I've got a question for you. What would you have as England's sort of, with everyone's fit? I appreciate he's mentioned he's had players injured for the last few games. What would be? I'm not going to ask you for the rest of your team, so we can, you know, sort of summarise. I'll ask you who your two centre midfielders would be in your front three.
Right. So I would go, and I'm going to go with a 4-3-3, and I'm going to give you the front six.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah.
So I would go Henderson or Rice. To me, it doesn't really matter. When fit, his name's already escaped me.
Foden.
Phil Foden. Yeah, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish as my two centre midfielders.
That's attacking.
That's what I'm saying. Like for me, I'd rather go to a tournament with them two as our midfielders with a covering defender.
Yeah.
Then, like, let's say he's going to play Reece James at the right back, for example. and Ben Chilwell left back. Both they're not the Trent Alexander-Arnold like defensively. You know what Trent gives you in attack, he can lack in defensively. But if he's got like a relatively good defensive right back, a relatively good defensive left back, I think, it's enough to have that one sitting midfielder. And then I think I would go Phil Foden, who is more than capable of keeping the ball. Does it all day for fun with City, all day, every day. Jack Grealish never gives the ball away, rarely gives the ball away. And if he does, he gets fouled and gets a free kick, even when he's lost the ball. So like all three of them players, if you put Henderson or Rice, they're capable of keeping hold of the ball. But Raheem Sterling, Jadon Sancho / Marcus Rashford, you can put any number of players on that side, and then obviously Harry Kane up top. That would be my team, and I would rather we just went all out and played that team from the start, through the group stages, through the quarterfinals, and just go for it, rather than just going with what I think he will go with, which is 2 holding midfielders, and then a Mason Mount and then a Jack Grealish on the left, Raheem Sterling on the right, and a Harry Kane in front. That's what he'll do.
Yeah, I think that's what he will do. But your team's unbelievably attacking. I don't think anyone the midfield make.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I mean, I'm probably thinking it as a manager, because I'm manager. I'm thinking,
yeah.
I wouldn't fancy to be Henderson on the turnover. Do you know what I mean? It'll be basically he's going to be the only one there, so he needs a bit of cover and support. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain's out injured at the moment. I think he'd be a really strong player to play in that position. He's what I call a proper 8. You've got Foden and then Mount, Grealish really attacking. I mean, Grealish is almost a left winger, so to play him in midfield, I don't know if he can play. He's obviously play. I'd imagine he can, but I've not seen him play in that central midfield position. I mean, the other option it gives you is, I mean, obviously Grealish is really good, so Grealish should probably be, yes, you play it, and then it's 2 others, whether it's Henderson and Chamberlain or Henderson and Rice, but then you become like, I understand Southgate's conundrum in that you don't want to be too expansive and attacking, because you don't want to lose the game before you start. But I completely get what you're saying as well, because I think fans have seen it for too long where they just want England to go and have a go. If you lose, fuck it, at least we had a go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
that's what I mean. It's not necessarily like, it's not necessarily in that makeup. It doesn't even have to be the one holding player and then it has to be the 2. Like you say there, it could be an Oxlade-Chamberlain coming alongside a Jordan Henderson. Then you maybe got Phil Foden in front of them, and then you've pushed Jack Grealish out on the left. You've got Raheem Sterling on the right, and then you've got Harry Kane down the middle. Like, it's just that little tweak. You've got your ultimately defensive midfielder, you've got somewhere in between, and then you've got your attacking midfielder, not 2 defensive midfielders, and that's what he will go with. He 100% will go with Henderson and another. No, he'll go Henderson Rice. That'll be his first. We'll come back to this. If they're both fit in the Euros, first game, Henderson and Rice.
Yeah, regardless of what formation is playing, whether it's 3-4-3, 3-5-2, 4-3-3, those 2 will be there. And there'll be another attacking or semi-attacking player.
And we'll be out by the semi-finals, quarterfinals, semi-finals, and it will be exactly the same. And just go for it. Please, just go for it.
I'm gonna. And I know I said the front 5, 6 to you, but I'm just gonna go with my full 11.
Go on then. Go.
But the one, I mean, this is, by the way, everyone fully fit, including Joe Gomez and. The only thing is keeper. I don't know. I think Henderson deserves a shot, but if you don't play for Man United, he's not going to be playing for England. Do you know what I mean? Because other players are playing. I've got Trent, Gomez, Maguire, Ben Chilwell, Henderson, Ox. I'd say, depending on the opposition, I'd go Mason Mount as well. So they're the 3 in the middle, and then I'd go Grealish, Kane, and Sterling. But again, I mean, the makeup of that will change depending on. I'd go. You've got to think who's definitely playing. So you've got Henderson's playing, Kane's playing, Sterling's playing, and then the rest of them are just sort of like, well, who do we play depending on the opposition, but staying true to our philosophy of how we want to play. So that team, all of those players, play for teams and clubs that play out and play the way similar to England. I mean, obviously the philosophy, the style of players will be slightly different, but effectively to get to the final third, it's the same. Your little patterns of play and stuff might be different, but playing out from the back perspective will be the same. I think it's important to pick players that are that are playing for one of the top 6 teams as well. Do you know? Apart from unless you're up sort of really outstanding like Jack Grealish, do you know? And then I've obviously forgot about Phil Foden as well. You know, he could potentially play with Mason Mount, but it's just, you know, so it just gives you that flexibility. And I just think the most important thing for Southgate for me is the makeup of your midfield, not to be overly defensive. And if you are playing with wing backs, not to have really defensive wing backs. Sometimes go with wide players, wide attacking midfield players, and play them there because you trust your midfield too, because he's not always going to play with 2 and the back 3, because you've still going to have 5 defensive players, and that support and cover still going to be there. So if you do both wing backs do go high, you 3 are high, you 1 attack midfield, you've still got like 5 behind. Do you know what I mean? Support come out, whatever you want to, you know. So it's just being balanced and being a bit brave, I think. But it's easy, but it's easy being.
It's easy for us.
Do you know what I mean? It's a different ball.
Absolutely.
I just think
like ball retention. Ball retention is the one thing that comes up in every tournament, and that's the most important thing that you know. So for me, you've got to play the players that can retain the ball, in particular against the likes of your Italy, for example. You know, you've got Sterling. For me, he plays in Man City. He knows he's been coached in a certain way. You've got Foden, obviously Man City. You've got Harry Kane, who's great at holding the ball up. He keeps the ball well. Jack Grealish again. And then, you know, beyond that, you know, you can pick the rest of the team from there. I just think press on the front foot, hoping that the team gives you the ball back, and then you just play from there. I just too many backwards and sideways players, and that's what we always suffer with. But just going through that, is there anyone that you think will make the breakthrough before the Euros? You think there's anyone that can push in?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I think it would be really tough. I think that, Tarkowski, I think potentially could, just because Joe Gomez is injured. If he's injured for Euros as well, you know, injury dependent, you're sort of thinking, you know, that it's picked itself. There's obviously sort of Danny Ings. I think, you know, Ings and Calvert-Lewin seem to be the next 2 in line.
Unfortunately, they've got Kane up top.
Yeah,
fortunately,
Harry Kane's going to break all the records that are currently stood for England. Is it Rooney top scorer at the moment? I mean, Shearer had it, and Kane's going to absolutely smash it out of the water. And I think Kane's have got a bit more legs to it, just because he's playing against proper teams. You know, just because of the Nations League, it doesn't mean you're playing against your shit team, your San Marinos as much. But yeah, no, I think he's going to go. You know, but yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I don't think so. I think there might be Jude Bellingham, but I think he was given a go anyway. I want, you know, so he's obviously came on and made his debut. So I think him playing more from Dortmund naturally is going to end up in the squad, whether he plays and starts or not. So he's another option that could play in the midfield. But you don't want to overly smash it with youngsters. Do you know what I mean? You still need that experience. Tournament experience is good, but then the flip side of it is the youngsters don't have any fear, do they? They have not had no failure in tournament experience. That's just good for them to go. But yeah, that's this week's episode. Again, we set off and we started. We're going to go for a short one, and I think this has gone a bit long on it. So, but yeah, no. But
one take though.
Yeah, it was one take. Yeah, so no editing.
One take Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, we love that. We still smash that WhatsApp. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. As always, like and subscribe if you think we're any good. If not, still do it. Put some comments down. If you disagree with our England team, please let us know. You know, who you change and how you change. If you think Southgate's, you know, for being too harsh, or we think we're too soft, let us know. But yeah, that's this week's episode. When I say this week's episode, that's this episode, because we've already done one this week. Until next time, both for myself, Ty, and my great co-host Chris. We'll see you later, guys.
See you later, guys.